Hello everyone, my name is Jacob Delay. I am on the school counseling track, so my Closing the Gap project revolves around my work done through my internship site at Evanston Township High School. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do my intervention group in person, so I completed the alternate assignment. I'll speak about what I wish the project could have been and how I was going about the group. I'll also touch upon how I transformed this group into a 3-part web series. So let's get started. These two quotes I have listed were the foundation of my project. These are Evanston High School's mission statement and values. I worked a lot with freshmen over the course of my internship. Right off the bat, I took note of many students' unreadiness for the higher work demand and high school itself. I started to look at the numbers and saw a large gap between the highest and lowest performing students. Many students showed this need for support, and as a member on the Student Services Department, I saw a chance to work with these students and close that gap. Students selected for this group were on my caseload and in the freshman class. These individuals have multiple D's and F's and all noted, through conversation, a lack of motivation towards their schoolwork. I also took observations of very poor organizational and time management skills. For example, these students didn't know of due dates, teacher email addresses or how to find them, and had extremely messy backpacks with a lack of school supplies. Data was collected through Evanston Township High School's software called eSchool Plus, where grades, attendance, and progress reports were accessible. Looking at the numbers, about 1%, or about 1 in 10 students, had very poor grades, that's multiple D's and F's, or were failing altogether. This data hit me hard and showed me how an intervention was necessary. So then I met with each student one-on-one to discuss the group and their role in it. Unfortunately, the week before we were supposed to start the group, we switched to e-learning and were staying at home. After multiple attempts to try and communicate with the group members, I could not get the group together. I took the same topic and followed through with the alternate assignment, which I will talk about in the next slide. I'll split this section into 2 parts, what I imagine the group would have looked like in the web series I created in lieu of the physical group. So, what the group would have looked like. So I was able to call down students and meet with them and discuss why they were chosen for the group. I gave a general overview of the group and I got their initial thoughts about it. Then we went to remote and the group fell apart. What it would have looked like was 5 sessions meeting once a week, discussing topics related to time management, study skills, and stress management. Kind of the next part, the web series covered multiple topics broken into 3 sessions. The first session is titled Introduction and High School Expectations. Here we discussed our hopes and expectations of high school, potential challenges we might face in high school. The activities we did were calculating GPA and how to read a transcript and why those were so important. The second session is titled Executive Functions and Time Management. Here we looked at executive functions and time management skills. We discussed the transition from middle to high school and how our responsibilities and workload increases. We learned about SMART goals and how to create them. We did an activity, essentially a timesheet, filling in our days with school, extracurriculars, homework, meals, hanging out with friends, watching TV, etc. Whatever we do in a normal day, we would put in our time log. This allowed students to view their schedules and see when their availability is to find time for school-related activities. The final session was titled Study Plan and Wrap-Up. We started off reflecting on the first 2 sessions and connecting them together. Essentially, having strong time management skills allows one to prioritize and become a stronger student. Understanding things like why GPA is important can push them to put a little bit more effort in now having stronger time management skills. The activity of session 3 was a worksheet focusing on creating an ideal study environment, pretty much where, when, and why. This allowed students to use the knowledge gained from the previous 2 sessions to work on a study plan and create a course of action to make sure it is followed through with. Unfortunately, we could not get the group to happen, so this is the results I would have hoped to see. Using the pre- and post-test, I would have seen what students have taken away from these sessions. For example, one pre-post test question was, I know how to calculate my GPA. I think the pre-test would have yielded a lot of no's, but the post-test, in my hope, yielded a lot of yeses. I would have also hoped to see students' grades raise, which would have subsequently raised their GPA and attendance. Lastly, the ASCA mindsets and behaviors I looked into are listed on the slide. All of these touched exactly on the purpose of my intervention. I definitely think a follow-up with these students is essential. Summer is a long time and it is easy to fall back into old habits. I think a check-in at the beginning of the fall 2020 school year is important to revisit the themes of the group and how we can continue to use these skills that we learned. Status and progress, like grades, attendance, and GPA, can and should be monitored as well. I wish the initial group could have happened, as I think the intervention could have been very helpful. I think doing a similar group with the incoming freshman class would only benefit them. The achievement cap will still be there, and this intervention can be implemented again with a different set of students.